Como salvadoreños reconocemos estos síntomas de la decadencia cuando los vemos, porque hemos pasado por todos ellos. Vivimos las etapas de la caída de nuestra nación una por una. Y estamos viendo esas mismas etapas una vez más, pero esta vez a escala global. No podemos ni deseamos decirles a otros países lo que tienen que hacer. Cada país debe tomar sus propias decisiones y hacer lo que sea mejor para su gente. Solo podemos ofrecer una palabra de advertencia de un amigo que ha pasado por una época oscura y ha librado la batalla de su vida para salir de ella. No podemos cambiar el curso del mundo. El Salvador es un país demasiado pequeño. Somos, de hecho, el país más pequeño de todo el continente americano. Esto es mucho más grande que nosotros y, de hecho, es más grande que cualquier nación. No podemos prevenir los tiempos oscuros que se avecinan. Pero lo que sí podemos hacer es convertirnos en un pequeño refugio ante la tormenta que se aproxima y mantener la esperanza. En El Salvador no encarcelamos a nuestra oposición, no censuramos opiniones, no confiscamos bienes de quienes piensan diferente. No arrestamos a las personas por expresar sus ideas. En El Salvador, tu libertad de expresión, así como tu propiedad privada, siempre estarán protegidas. En El Salvador priorizamos la seguridad de nuestros ciudadanos honestos sobre la comodidad de los criminales. Algunos dicen de que hemos encarcelado miles, pero la realidad es que hemos liberado a millones. Ahora son los buenos los que viven libres, sin miedo, con sus libertades y derechos humanos totalmente respetados.
Amazing speech by Bukele at the UN. Zelenskyy, I mentioned Zelenskyy flew into D.C. about a week ago. I had never in my life, and I've been in D.C., in and out of D.C. for 30 years, living here. I mean, longer than that, but living here. I had never in my life seen the entire district shut down like that before. Unbelievable what it was like. I cannot describe it even to give it justice. They literally shut the whole place down. They don't do that for Biden. They don't do it for Trump. I didn't notice they did it for Netanyahu either, but I guess he would probably be the similar, right? It was wow. I didn't notice it like that for NATO. I mean, it was like, wow. Okay. Yeah. Crazy. Good morning, everybody. You are watching on your TVs in Texas and Louisiana. We're on the Smart Money Culture TV network, as well as streaming around the world on great platforms like Rumble and YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all the rest of it. Very interesting days we have today. Of course, we have the UN Blockchain Week that is happening up in New York City. We're heading there as well, but we have multiple events going on this week as everything unrolls. Very important. You just have so many important people up there, right? There's just so many important people that are in New York City at this time. You had, of course, you had the Turkish president talking. You have everything that's going on, of course, over in the Middle East. An absolute disaster. You have everything going on over in Eastern Europe. It's an absolute disaster. Actually, the whole world is a disaster. The title of the show is From Astros to Aliens. That is a nod to, of course, the Astros. To aliens navigating the 2024's market mayhem and cosmic cash grabs, which is what is going on the Impact Money Show. Nayib Bukele gives an amazing speech at the UN, while Zelenskyy, Speaker Johnson, and the UniParty prepare a funding CR, giving money to everyone else but you. That is the sad truth, my friend. Money to everybody else but you. Trump is under fire. He is, looks like he will have to, or this guy, Jack Smith, or whatever the name is of this guy, I think it's Jack Smith, will be able to give his quote unquote evidence in court. Of course, it's all just a big sham. Upcoming filing could contain new evidence in January 6th case following judge's ruling. So this guy, he's going to be able to do it. It is just all lawfare. It is lawfare. But in my opinion, it is effective. I have to tell you this, guys, this as well. As surprising as it may seem to some people, and I've been sounding the alarm here a bit, and I know a lot of my friends, my own family, Bruce, you're crazy. Trump's gonna win. I am not optimistic at all. Even at the Catholic school that we have been, I've had my kids at for a long time now. They like Kamala. When the kids are saying that they like Kamala, that means that the parents like Kamala too. You know what I mean? The kids just aren't coming out of somewhere and being like, mom and dad are voting Trump, but they're voting Kamala. They like Kamala. It's not happening. That's the inner conversations that are going on in that house. It's an insight in there. Of course, I tell my kids, just be cool, because that's politics. Don't want to get involved, especially my daughters. But and then you throw on all the lawfare to make Trump look bad, and then you throw on the magic electronic voting machines, and you throw on the mail-in ballots. I just remember how deflated everybody was in 2022. I mean, people were like, oh my gosh. But you got to realize, guys, that we're probably, I don't see how we win. Too big to rig? Too big to rig with 20 million people in here? I put the numbers up the other day. Remember, I did it on Friday, I think, on the last show, because this is how close it is. Trump won. And I bring it up because I don't know what to do about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything we can do about it right now. To be completely frank, I guess there's not. All we have really is the vote. And if the vote doesn't count, then what do we got? We got nothing. So here's the numbers. I put these up the last show, I think it was. Right here we have Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. I mean, these were like razor thin margins. Trump, won by easily. I mean, we're talking like 20 million people or so have been brought here one way or the other, allowed to come illegally, however you want to call it. But now they have, the important part is that now they have legal status. So North Carolina, there were a bit bigger numbers, North Carolina and Florida. But North Carolina is, I mean, it shouldn't go for Trump, but I mean for Kamala, but you watch, it will. I'm pretty sure it will. Let me just separate that a little bit. All right. So I don't know. I just want everybody to think about it, because here's the thing. We don't have any control. And we have the people that are in control the money supply. Central banking cartel, I call them. That's what they are. They're a cartel. But they really have total control. And so we don't have any control over our Congress, because the central bank pays their salaries of all the Congress people. Without the central bank, they don't have salaries. So once you start to understand, how the whole thing works, you're like, I don't know how we get out of it, guys. I'm at a point where I'm really not sure. I am not optimistic about voting our way out of this. I am not optimistic. So we have all kinds of other stuff going on. Of course, we have the aliens. Basically, everything is, long life, indefinite life is coming. We're going to be able to live for a long, long time. They're teasing more and more of the aliens. I'm sure the aliens have been here for a long time. They're killing off hundreds of thousands of beautiful people all around the world. They want to kill off more, in my opinion. I don't know what we do, guys. I don't know. I just want everybody to be ready. Like, what are we going to do? And I'm not saying that we go and do anything, I guess. But be ready, because the people who overthrew the last election, who installed Sleepy Joe, who have arrested the former president, charged him with 93 crimes or something like that, kept him in court. I don't think that they're going to just stop. I don't think they're going to just stop. Actually, I'm telling you, they're not going to just stop. Why in the world, after they overthrew the 2020 elections and 2022, why in the world would they stop now? Nothing happened to them. Even if Trump gets in, they'll probably assassinate him and we'll get the vice president. And I haven't talked bad about the vice president because Trump picked him, the vice presidential pick. But let's face it, throw up if that guy's president. I mean, geez, like, really? We vote for Trump and we get that guy? Like, whew. I don't know. Anyway, it's yeah, you know, I look at, you know, you see a guy like Bukele from El Salvador who's just speaking the truth. Of course, I speak the truth every day. I come on here and I speak the truth. But you saw also what happened to Alex Jones. You know, Alex Jones went after Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook, I mean, Alex Jones was right about everything. Like, the guy was right about everything. So what in the world would we think he's not right about Sandy Hook? Now, I didn't dive into Sandy Hook enough to say one way or the other. Okay, but I'll tell you this: I know a psyop when I see one. It sure looks like it's gun grab psyop, and it looks like Alex Jones blew it up. And so they went after him, and they took everything. So now the court has ordered liquidation of his show, the vitamin site, you know, everything. They fined him like $1 billion. $1 billion. $1 billion. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, everybody. They went on TV for the last however many years and lied to everybody. Everybody knows they pushed the scam, COVID, everything. And that's like when you start to just like, oh gosh, all right, so the courts are cooked. These people have installed their own judges throughout the whole bit. We need a anyway. All right, let's talk to markets. There is a lot going on the markets. I have a recorded video from my good friend, my colleague, the great Matt Dixon. Let's see what he has to say here.
Good morning, Bruce. Morning, Impact Money viewers. So today I'm taking a little bit of a review of the market. It's not absolutely clear where we're going. So I look back at some old charts that I posted. Sometimes it's good to zoom out, just take a look at what you thought earlier, and just a whole review of the market, really, just see where we're at. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty in the markets, particularly on a geopolitical front. I know there's been a big escalation in the Middle East, and that could potentially escalate further. That, if that did happen, there would be an impact on oil prices and the knock-on effect to the economies and so on around the world. And there'll be a big, sharp reaction to that, I believe. I mean, it's strange that we have, a lot of tensions. I mean, for example, Sudan, there's some terrible loss of life and tensions going on there, not even reported. And yet the Middle East seems to be front and center for some reason, particularly around Israel. So I'm not quite sure the reason for that. But anyway, it is what it is. So we do need to keep an eye on it. And obviously, as usual, Russia, Ukraine, Putin being backed into a corner, potentially talking about escalating again further. So these are all things that we need to keep an eye on, because whilst we can make our best assessment of the market and we can look at the charts, the market is still very much fluid, in a fluid situation. It can change, it can turn on a dime, really. Things can happen, totally unforeseen things that can change our outlook completely. And that's why I maintain that we need to always trade according to risk and reward ratios. So basically, the reward needs to be higher than the risk, and obviously the chance of reward needs to be higher than the risk also. So that's really why I'm trying to take a look at the markets. I'll start with looking at the S&P 500 here, and we may have potentially completed a fifth wave to the upside here. The reason I say that is I think from the previous all-time high that we had around whatever level that is now, it's about 5,600 and something. We had a very clear ABC wave down. That's corrective. So following a correction down, we would expect there to be an impulse to the upside in 5 waves. Now we got that, basically wave 1 up, 2 down, 3 up, 4 down, 5 up. It seems to be quite a compressed wave count, but we do have, in fact, I'll just double check, but I'm pretty sure we have a good Fibonacci relationship between wave 1, somewhere around about there. Just transfers that onto wave 2. So yeah, we're well over the 1.618 for wave 3. Wave 4 was a deep pullback, which was slightly unexpected because wave 2 was also deep. Normally you get a rule of alternation or a guideline of alternation. It's not a fixed rule. If you get a deep wave 2, often you get a shallow wave 4. So I'm not entirely happy with this wave count, and it may actually be all part of an ending diagonal for the S&P 500, which would be a slightly different wave structure, but still coming towards the end of a move to the upside. But potentially we do have an end to this move. And we also, clearly we have here some regular bearish divergence. So we can see here higher highs on the price, corresponding lower highs on the RSI. So that's telling us of a potential turnaround in price. It's not 100%, but it's a good guide. And we would wait to see the close of this candle. Clearly, I'm looking at the daily chart again. Each of these candles is a day. We would need to see how this candle ends. It could actually end as a green candle for all we know. We cannot make any conclusions or draw any conclusions until we see the actual end of the candle. If it finishes as a red candle, then potentially we do have at least a short-term top in place and potentially a move down. But it's early to say that. And we've got some news coming up. I think there's home sales coming up later today, not much later actually. I think they're in about an hour or so's time. So home sales do have an impact on the market. And bear in mind, we've had a big reduction in interest rates that could actually boost home sales, gives people more confidence that interest rates, we're now in a reducing interest rate cycle. And so, interest rates have fallen. Maybe it's time to start thinking about buying. So that could boost the house sales. And this makes me think that we still have risks about inflation. Inflation has come down, but as we lowered rates quite dramatically, really by 0.5%, that's a big move. And the indications are they're going to lower rates further. This could potentially stimulate the economy. So my thesis was that the inflation wasn't homegrown previously. It was actually driven by the war in Ukraine, Russia, that drove up oil and grain prices at the time, and that drove inflation higher. Inflation has since come down, but I do think that we're actually in danger of potentially having some homegrown inflation if we start to lower rates, or if the Fed start to lower rates too quickly. But we've yet to see. But that would be a problem if we have inflation and growth is diminishing, if it does continue to diminish. So we need to look at jobs for that, really. So there's important news coming out as well on Thursday. That's durable goods orders, and that would tell us an awful lot about the health of the economy. That's a very, very important metric that we need to look at and just see where the economy is. So that's looking at the health of the manufacturing industry, really, to see how healthy that is. That's a big part of the US economy. So there are things that we'll watch out for over the next couple of days. So as I say, S&P is just potentially topping, but I wouldn't draw any conclusions just yet. I'd wait for the end of that candlestick. I'll just move around. I'll look at gold next. Just calling gold up there. So gold's quite interesting. Again, potentially we have the end of a fifth wave possibly in place, but same story. It's a daily candlestick here, and we need to see this end. But at the moment, it's looking like a potential top is in place. I don't see any particular divergences here at the moment. I'll look on perhaps on different time frames. But what is interesting is, from what I have labeled here as an ABC down for wave 4, we do apparently have 5 waves up. So wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. So potentially that fifth wave could be complete, and we may be due a short-term pullback. But bigger time frames, I think we've still got more to go with gold. So gold is obviously a hedge against inflation. It's a hedge against uncertainty. So, bearing in mind, looking at those longer time frames, gold is looking to move higher, I believe, even if we get a pullback. I think pullbacks will just be a further buying opportunity. So I wouldn't buy right now. Not quite the right time to jump in, I think, at an all-time high there or thereabouts, the same day, all-time high. I think I would wait ideally for a pullback before adding to my gold portfolio or my gold holdings. So that's, for the moment, a reasonably clear picture. As I say, we may have a bit higher to go, but I think we're due a pullback fairly soon. So I'll move on to the assets that I've been following really closely. So we'll just look at Solana here. This one's quite interesting to look at because there's a few divergences here, first of all. This was obviously over a different time frame, but we did actually have, you can see there's basically a regular bearish divergence that signaled a big turn down here, and that's precisely what happened. So we got higher highs in price, lower highs in RSI, signaled this massive turn down that we got. But the most recent divergence is there's one long divergence right from early August right up until now, basically looking at lower lows on price and corresponding higher, lower highs on price and corresponding higher highs on RSI. So that's telling us a hidden bearish divergence. I've got it labeled there, hidden bearish. We've got 2 instances. We had the first one here, that signaled that downward move in price. And then we've got another one, which is from here to here, or even longer term from here to here. So we also, again, have a hidden bearish divergence. But we'll look at this one in a little bit more detail to try to see where we're at. But it is looking on this daily chart, even though we're not overbought on RSI, it is indicating a potential downturn in price. And I'll just move over to the 4-hour right now and try and open this out a little bit so we can see, try to see where we're at. So from this move up here, I think it was, personally, I believe it's a 3-wave move up. So A, B, C, I think it's 3 waves. There's too much choppiness and overlapping. You can't count this as wave 1, 2, 3, 4 because this wave 4 overlaps into wave 1. So it doesn't work. So I think it's an ABC move higher. And I think we had an ABC move down as well. I think we got 5 waves for the A, 3 waves for the B, 5 waves for the C. So a zigzag 3-wave move here. So we've got 3 up, 3 down. Following that, that's part of a flat correction. You then expect 5 waves to the upside. Now, that 5 waves to the upside may potentially be complete up here. It could be, we've got wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 could be here, or it could even be up here, and wave 4 and potentially wave 5. But I don't like this as wave 5. Again, we'll open it out and have a look. So I think potentially we've got the 5 waves complete here. And then we've got an A, a B, and maybe working on a C to the downside before we then push higher again. So let's just open that up and see why I come to that conclusion. So we have, hopefully you can see that, wave 1 to the top of that spike, wave 2 down there, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Then basically we've got 3 waves down there for an A wave. Again, can't be counted. I cannot see it counted as 5 waves, it's overlapping within, etc. It's a clear 3-wave move. And then to the upside, if that's a 3-wave move, potentially we could have a 5-wave move to the upside. But again, I can't see it. And the reason I can't see it is because of the movement we had down this morning. So if this was a wave 1 up, this was a wave 2 down, then next would be a wave 3, and then wave 4. But this cannot be a wave 4 because we look at this low here, it overlapped into this wave 1 territory here. So this can't be a wave 4, and this can't be a wave 1. So I think it's also, again, basically an ABC of some sort to the upside. So we've got 3 waves down, that's ABC down, giving us an A wave. We've got 3 waves up, giving us an ABC up. So it's looking like an expanded flat correction. Expanded because this B wave goes beyond the origin of the A wave. So we've got A, we've got B. Let's move that B so you can see it there. So we've got A down, B up, and I think that potentially we're going to be working on a C wave down, which would be likely, most likely in 5 waves here, unless it turns out to be a more complex correction. But at the moment, we're looking at 335 is the most likely flat correction, expanded flat. So whilst the B wave went beyond the start of the A wave, I'd expect the C wave to go beyond the end of this A wave. So I'd expect it to be a reasonably robust 5 waves. So that may be linked to the news we got. It could be linked to geopolitical news, or it could be linked to economic news coming out of the US today and tomorrow. So let's keep an eye on that. But right now, I wouldn't be looking, even though we had quite a strong move up, I wouldn't be looking to go long at the moment just because, as I say, I can't count this as 5 waves at the moment. And it'd be very difficult to count it as what's called a nested wave, where we have potentially wave 1 up, 2 down, and 1 up, 2 down, 1 up, 2 down, 1 up, 2 down. There's too many nests there. I don't like it. So I think it's potentially going to be heading a little bit lower. When I say a little bit, in Solana terms, it's probably not a great deal. We have had good news out with Solana. There's a lot of news in the pipeline with Solana about it being such an active, growing, exciting chain. So long term, I'm still very bullish on Solana, but short term, we may get that pullback. So if we get 5 waves down, I'm not quite sure what the target is, but it should be should stay above here, and maybe a sensible target might be around the 135 sort of area. I'd have to check on some Fibonacci extensions to come to some conclusions. So we had a good move up in Bitcoin, but again, really interesting. If I just scroll out a little bit on Bitcoin, these divergences, by the way, I'll have to go back to the daily just to show you where those divergences are, what they are. So let me just show you first of all on the daily where we're at. So daily, we do have some divergence in play here. So we do actually have a lower high on price, and we have a higher high on corresponding RSI. It's not much lower on price, but it is lower. And bear in mind, you have to go from the solid candle bodies, not from the candle wicks. You always measure divergences from the solid candle bodies. So we do have lower highs on price and higher highs on RSI. That is telling us of hidden bearish divergence. So here we got basically a regular bullish divergence, which gave us a signal that the price was going to move higher. And again, it looks a little bit like Solana. We appear to have had 3 waves down, 3 waves up. So again, I might be expecting a fairly robust 5-wave move to the downside. But again, we just need to see how this candle ends for a start. This divergence could be eliminated if price spikes a bit higher. Well, not spikes, but if price goes and rests a little bit higher, it could eliminate this divergence. So again, I'm being very, very cautious on positioning. I'm basically trying to stay out of the market in general right now. I don't think risk reward is looking amazing. There's too much. We're so close here on the potential to move higher and eliminate this divergence that I'm not comfortable in taking a position. So just again, we have this divergence in place. At the moment, it's signaling a downward move. But what I wanted to point out was this overhead resistance. So it's a pivot high. The previous level was here. This was back end of August. And then we just revisited that yesterday. And price failed again. So that's actually quite significant that when we effectively attack an overhead resistance and fail again, the likelihood is that this has failed for the time being, unless we get some positive news to push it through here. And this is a resistance level, overhead resistance. It will take some effort to get through it. And if it doesn't get through it, then we're going to fail on this attempt for the time being and push to the downside. But again, it's looking as though longer term, we are going to push to new all-time highs. It was encouraging to get over 60,000. But as I say, the important level for me was this resistance level that we have here, that we will need to break that if we're going to head to the upside. So again, all based on what's happening with the news. Oil price, I don't think we touched on that, but basically, again, it's it's not really doing anything much. Bit of a choppy movement. Just scroll out a little bit here. Yeah, really difficult to say. It all depends on geopolitical issues, but obviously the overall backdrop environment for oil is not that encouraging at the moment, as growth appears to be slowing. There's plenty of supply still in the market, and that's why we've seen the oil price come down so dramatically in recent months. We can see a general downtrend for the past quite a few months now. We came from a price back in September of 23, so a whole year ago now, came from a price of 94. We're now at 71, so that's a massive downward trend. And that is really corresponding with the expectation of a slowing economy, and that's why we're seeing lower interest rates. So we're beginning to see that slower economy. Remember, markets look forward. They try to anticipate what's going to happen. So clearly they're anticipating a weaker economy, and that is what's beginning to filter through, particularly in other parts of the world, China and Europe. But I think we're also seeing some signs in the US as well. And US is the powerhouse of the rest of the world when it comes to growth. So if US slows down, as they often say, if the US sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. So we'll be watching the US data very, very closely to see what happens there. I think that I'm not sure whether we touched on DXY, but we need to touch on it. Again, I don't think we've still closed below, but actually we may have closed below. I'm expecting a little bit more downside on DXY, maybe a little bit. As this is it. I went through it yesterday in quite some detail. That basically, the day before actually, that basically we've got potentially an ending diagonal here. So I had wave 3, wave 4, ending diagonal, wave 5. I did say that we could dip a bit lower, or we may have finished here. So we're still chopping around here. That's why prices on the assets, the risk assets, are chopping around, because there's a bit of uncertainty whether we completed this. After we complete it, what I think is ending diagonal, we should then get a move up in ABC, move up. That will be negative risk assets, and that would fit with our overall view at the moment that there will be a bit of short-term negativity. We've covered that already on the SPX, on Bitcoin, and on Solana, etc. So this is potentially a little bit concerning that we're going to be seeing weaker dollar short term, but then, stronger dollar short term, which would be negative risk assets, but then we'll see weaker dollar again after that. So I do think, based on this, that the weakness in risk assets that we may well be seeing in the near future won't be sustained, and then we are going to see weaker dollar, which would probably correspond with these risk assets pushing to much higher. So, as I say, potentially Bitcoin to new all-time highs. So all in all, although we might see some short-term negativity, I'm not overly concerned about the markets. Just looking across the board, markets are flat to down in general. That old favorite I often mention here, Rollbit, is actually up again, 2.98% today. It's a bit choppy again, like the rest of them. It's there's no clear direction right now. So we're not in a clear, solid uptrend or downtrend. I still think we're pretty much chopping around. But as I say, I'm not entering new long positions or new short positions at the moment. I'm keeping powder dry to wait to see what happens. I do think that near term we've got some negativity to come. Even XRP has actually gone absolutely nowhere. We can see all this choppiness here. Absolutely choppy market, actually not really gone anywhere at all. All these candles are in the same sort of territory, trying lower, failing, trying higher, failing, lower, failing, higher, failing, not going anywhere. The last thing that we had here was bearish divergence right up here, and it's regular bearish divergence telling us a downside to come. Precisely what happened. Right now, there's no short-term divergence in place. This is looking at daily, but the daily negative or bearish divergence is still holding for the time being. So again, with XRP, we could be in some sort of longer term wedge pattern. That's quite possible. So maybe an A, B, C, D, maybe an E wave down to come before we then push substantially to the upside. So again, that would be typical of XRP, because if this is some kind of wedge, then the breakout of a wedge or a triangle is normally very aggressive. It's what's called the thrust from the triangle. So that would be very typical of XRP. If we are actually in a triangle here, then the thrust will be very aggressive, and XRP moves tend to be aggressive. It's in that boring state, as we often say. I know Bruce calls it a boring token to watch sometimes, until it breaks out. When it breaks out, it's very impressive, or it can be. So this is looking like some kind of consolidation before potentially a powerful move to the upside. But shorter term is looking negative again. Ethereum's failed to follow through, really. We had some here. We've clearly got some hidden bearish divergence in play right now. So again, I'm expecting probable short-term downside. So all in all, I think that summarizes it. Short-term, looking at a bit of downside. Longer term, still bullish. These are all corrective moves. So long-term, I'm still very bullish on the markets. So again, let's just keep an eye on those home sales today. Let's keep an eye on the data coming out tomorrow, the durable goods orders, and take our cue from that. So thank you so much for listening. I hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to catching up with you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye for now.
The great Matt Dixon with his market report. It is always a pleasure to work with Matt. Matt is such a professional, and the way that he breaks out his Elliott wave theory and the Fibonacci sequences in order to decide where the market's going to go, and then to tell you either way, hey, look, I'm not playing this market like this, or however he says it. It really is something else. It really is something else. I enjoy working with him quite a bit, and we, of course, it's world class, guys. These analysis that we go here, and if you do trade, if you mind what we say, and you keep the powder dry when we keep the powder dry, and you play it when we play it, you will win, because that's how we do it, and we are able to consistently move well and make money with the market. So pretty everything just seems to be a bit in flux, and I think that it has to do with everything that's going on. It has to do with the geopolitical situation. It has to do with people not understanding that the central banking cartel is in charge. It has to do with we're a republic in the United States. We're not a democracy. It is a very big difference between a republic and a democracy. I'm just going to play that clip here real quick. They even everybody just loves to call us a democracy, but we are not a democracy. Here we are. Let me share this or add this to the screen. This guy explains it very well here. There we go. Here's why they taught in the United States is a democracy instead of a republic, I said.
A democracy is a political system in which the people periodically, by majority vote at the polls, select their rulers. The rulers then have absolute power to make whatever laws they please by majority vote among themselves. In a constitutional republic, the people also, by majority vote at the polls, select rulers who make laws by majority vote among themselves. But the rulers cannot make any laws they please because the Constitution severely restricts their lawmaking power. The ideal of a democracy is universal equality. The ideal of a constitutional republic is individual liberty. In this century, great strides have been made toward the goal of subverting our republic and transforming it into a democracy. The foremost tactic of the subverters is subversion of language. By calling America a democracy until people thoughtlessly accept and use the term, totalitarians have obscured the real meaning of American principles of government. Writers of the Constitution were anxious to safeguard liberty against dictatorship, monarchy they called it. But their chief anxiety was to protect the country against democracy. Edmund Randolph, delegate to the Constitutional Convention from Virginia, said the general object of the convention was to provide a cure for the follies and fury of democracy. Elbridge Gerry and Roger Sherman, delegates from Massachusetts and Connecticut, urged the Constitutional Convention to create a system to eliminate the evils that flow from the excess of democracy. Alexander Hamilton, delegate from New York, said, "We are now forming a Republican government. Real liberty is not found in democracy. If we incline too much to democracy, we shall soon shoot into a monarchy." John Adams, one of the giants of the American Revolutionary period, said, "Democracy will envy all, contend with all, endeavor to pull down all. And when by chance it happens to get the upper hand for a short time, democracy will be revengeful, bloody, and cruel." America was founded not as a democracy, but as a constitutional republic. We pledge allegiance to the republic, for which our flag stands, not to a democracy. The Constitution requires a republican form of government for all states, but does not mention democracy, and neither does the Declaration of Independence or the Bill of Rights. Woman asked him what kind of government the convention had given America, and Franklin replied, "A republic, if you can keep it." Very old and very wise, Franklin saw through the mists of time to the day when Americans might trade their freedom in a constitutional republic for the promise of government guaranteed equality and security in a democracy. And beyond that, to the day when democracy inevitably degenerates into dictatorship, guaranteeing nothing but poverty and serfdom for the people it robs and rules.
So that's where we're at right now. Interesting, right? So founding fathers wanted to protect the United States against democracy. Democracy leads into, as he says, monarchy or dictatorship, and that's where we are right now. The monarchy is basically the central banking cartel. Those families, I put them up quite a bit. I'll put them up again. But these are the families now who, and they do it in secret. Rothschilds. Okay. They do it in secret, so most people don't understand. But these right here, these are the families. These are basically our monarchy right here. But you just don't know. You don't know about it. These are the families that own the United States. Rothschild's taxes inflation, I say. I wrote a song about it. But the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Morgans, the Warburgs, the Goldman Sachs, Lehman, Kuhn, Loeb, Lazard, Israel Moses Schiff, and Stillman, these are the families who own the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has total, complete control. That's why I always say end the Fed. So I have this guy up here every morning as well. We have to end the Fed in order to get out from under the total control that these people have over us. And by saying democracy, we are a democracy, democracy. I even see Trump out there. Everybody's just so used to saying that we're a democracy. We're not a democracy. As an American, do you feel that individual liberty persists throughout the nation? No, sir. Absolutely not. That is gone. We do not have that anymore. I don't know how much you've watched the show, but I see you comment lately. I don't know how long I should say that you've watched the show, but I traveled throughout Europe before and after and during the Euro, and I saw how they overthrew it there. And it was one way I have such an insight into what's going on here. This is a failed project at this point. This is a failed project at this point. They overthrew us sneaky. It was sneaky. They started with opening the borders, and then it was, get the religion out of school. You make everybody like kind of not religious, and then people don't go to church, and they don't congregate together with each other. They don't, the religion is a big part of it. It's a big part of it. You take the religion out, and you start to take the people's identity out, and then you bring in all kinds of different other people. And I don't mind having other people around, but we don't really have an identity anymore either. So since we don't have an identity, we can't really kind of caucus together and fight about things. I mean, you even look at the Trump movement. I don't even really want to get into, but there's like a lot of different factions. A lot of people will go and vote for Trump. I unfortunately don't think it's going to make a difference, but a lot of people are going to go and vote for Trump and really hold their nose and do it. They'll do it. A lot of people just won't vote, though. That's the truth. There is, as much as there is an excitement factor, he is an amazing guy. He loves to be on stage. I play his speeches. I mean, I'm voting for the guy. I totally support the guy. I think that his hands at this point are tied. I think when he was as president, he felt like they were tied. Maybe they were. Maybe that's why he stayed alive. And they killed JFK. And, you know, maybe that's the deal. But, yeah. It's crazy. But no, you know, people cling to their guns and this and that and the other, but, you know, they'll come out, they're after those. I mean, already you have to register every time you go in. You got to register to buy one. You have to do this. You have to, if you want to carry one concealed in most places, you have to go through a big process. And DC is very hard to get a concealed permit. So basically that means you can hold a gun, you know, locked up in your house, but that's it. So, well, what good is that? I mean, you have a gun, so you can use it, defend yourself, you know. So people cling to that, and then free speech gone. You can't even, I mean, X is the most free speech place for sure, but you can't say too much. I mean, even right now when I was searching for this video, I'll show you guys. Let me just go back over here. So if I go back to my screen share here, and do a search. Here we go. From all right, so that pulled up this, but if I looked for my video, Republic. Am I? Yeah. So I said from Network Manager Republic. Oh, now it shows. All right. Well, there you go. Go ahead and prove me wrong. When I searched before, it was like not there, and I had to go to all and then find it. Anyway, but if you say the wrong thing, you get deplatformed. Your numbers go way down. You know, we have everyone is too scared, or they're like too scared of being called names. You know, it's very clear who the deep state is and who has overthrown the country. I mean, these families, they all have something that I'm not going to say because I don't want my numbers to go to the ground. But I mean, they're all part of the same group, you know. Soros is now buying all the radio stations. He's in with this group too. They already own all the rest of the media. This group too. They own Congress. They own the money that we use, folks. They own us. Now, more people than ever are noticing. I will say that. More people than ever are noticing. And I'm not saying that they're all bad or any of that stuff. As I said when I went around the world, the average person, we all want the same thing. We want a family. We want prosperity. We want a place to leave our future generations. But, you know, we have a situation in the United States at this point. We have, you know, everybody remember growing up, you know, the United States was built on credit, borrowing money from these people. And that's how we did this. That's how we built this. Okay. But if you take that out of the box, what that means is we did it by stealing the money from the people. We built this by constantly stealing the money from the people. while these guys made trillions and trillions of dollars. They stole all our money. They actually even stole all our gold. In 1933, they confiscated everybody's gold and made it illegal for you to own gold. They confiscated all your family's gold. It's $25 per ounce. Told you they were going to give it back. Federal Reserve and Eisenhower. Eisenhower did executive order. They stole everyone's gold. Said they were going to give it back. They never did. Now gold is over $2,500 per ounce. They give your family $25 for it. And then they kept diluting the money supply until we are where we're at right now. And then I have friends who want to come on my channel. I ask them, what do you want to talk about? And they go, well, there's nothing we can do about Vanguard and BlackRock and all these guys, so we might as well use them. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of using. I've never been in that game. Never been in it. I never did that. Never bought into it. I don't see myself buying it now. This will it will crash. That is why these guys always get in trouble sooner or later over all these years, because this lending system only leads, this debt system only leads to one thing, and that's absolute slavery. Absolute slavery. You can't go on your own show and talk like I do because you have a job. And if you lose your job, then you're going to lose your car, and you're going to lose your house. You probably lose your wife. You're a slave. You can't go out and do what you need to do because you won't survive more than a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months without the job. This guy did a good job. I don't know if I can find it real quickly here. Anyway. And so that's what we've produced. So yes, we built, but now we have a situation where everybody is in debt. They have to go, and then like even look at how they extend the school year. The school year is extended, so the wife and the husband can go work all the time. And I mean months and time of the day. It's extend, so that the slaves can go work longer, so that they can pay more taxes. The IRS is also a construct of these people. Started in the same year. Federal Reserve and the IRS. A year later, we went to World War I. Crazy. It is crazy. Anyway, obviously, when you're in the markets and everything like we are as well, you really have a pulse. So I'm here in DC. I have my pulse on the political situation. I also have my pulse on the markets. I can tell you there's a lot of warning signs in both. I think that, as I said at the beginning of the show, I see big warning signs that we will have a Kamala presidency and that nobody's going to do anything about it. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Nothing. You're going to do nothing. So we need to put together some type of a plan to save ourselves. We have to save ourselves. And I hope Trump gets in. But if he doesn't, if he does, of course, it'll be a lot of work too, because he's going to have everybody bending his ear to do this and do that and the other. And, you know, we know that we know it needs to be done, or, you know, we have our pulse on it. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to run. I got to get my daughters to school. I wanted to call out my good friends over here at the Dalgo Nation, Dalgo, because Dalgo is doing it. They're doing it, guys. Check these guys out. I am a happy whale. I'm a happy whale. We're moving. We are moving here. Let's see here. Dalgo, the Dalgo Nation. Dalgo, of course, is backed by Polka Gold. They locked the Polka Gold liquidity in here. Look at that Polka Gold. Look at that Polka Gold. Up 3.6% today. It's a lovely sight. It's a lovely sight. Anyway, I'll post about this on my X to tell you how to buy it. You should get some Dalgo. You should get some Polka Gold. I like you to have a good way in and a good way out, and these guys have done an excellent job at doing that, putting that together. My friends, I leave you for now. I'll be back on your TVs in about 5 hours, and be back with another show.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.